Hello, and welcome back to the Gentle Elemental channel. Today I will be teaching you how to make these wire-wrapped earrings that feature crystal stone beads. So let's begin. First, we will start off with the top component. You will need 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire. First, you will curve the end to create a loop. Be sure to flatten out the tail as you go. Curve the second loop next to the first loop. Don't forget to straighten out your wire. Next, we're going to curve the third loop by the previous loop. We're going to take our pliers and flatten out the loops. To create the final loop, I use these pliers to start the loop and begin the curve around the edge. Then I come in with the first step of the looper to create the final loop. Once we've created the final loop, we will take our pliers and flatten the loops gently. Then we will straighten the tail end of the wire. We are then going to fold the tail end upwards to meet the side of the pliers. Then we're going to take our pliers and begin to straighten out the tail end of the wire. Here we will put it towards the center of the top component. Once we have straightened out the end of the wire, we are going to cut the tail end of the wire, leaving about 1 centimeter for the post of the earring. Repeat the steps on your second component. Next, once you have finished cutting the wire, you will want to sand down the ends of the posts to make them smooth. Now let's continue on with the bottom component. For the bottom component, you will need 2 8-centimeter pieces of 20 gauge wire. Use the second step of the looper to create the first loop. Now switch to the first step of the looper to create the second loop next to the first loop. The smaller loop will actually be the center point for our bottom component. With your pliers, flatten out the 2 loops so they are situated next to each other. Straighten the tail of the wire before starting the third loop. To create the third loop, you will use the second step of the looper. For the final loop, I am using step 3 of the looper to create an elongated look to the bottom component. Snip the tail of the wire so that it is flush with the center of the component. Finally, flatten the loops with your pliers. Repeat the steps to complete the second component. Now that we have created the bottom components, let's create the crystal links that will connect the bottom and top components together. To create the crystal link, you will need 2 6-millimeter beads and 2 10-centimeter pieces of 20 gauge wire. To create the crystal link, you will want to take your 10 centimeter wire and go down 6 centimeters to create a loop. And then once you create the loop, you will take that tail end, the shorter end, and you will wrap it around the longer piece of wire, creating a coil. Once you get to your desired length of coil, you will want to cut the excess tail off. I then use my pliers to push down on the coil to make sure that it's more uniformed. I also use these smaller pliers to center the loop of the crystal link. Next, we will be adding our 6 millimeter bead. Next, we're going to take our flat nose pliers and create a little gap in between the stone bead and where we want to create our loop. Using step 1 of the looper, we will create the loop. Using the excess tail that we have left over, we will begin to coil around the gap that is in between the stone bead and the loop that we just created. Next, we will cut the excess wire. We will take our flat nose pliers and push down on the end of the coil. Repeat the steps to create the second crystal link. Now that we have all of our components made, let's put it all together. And there we have it. We have our wire wrapped earrings with our crystal link in between. And hopefully I was able to teach you something new and you can go on creating. Thanks for watching. See you next time.